Ask yourself, what would you do if you could retire 20 to 30 years before the average person? Would you travel the world and explore new destinations? Would you jump into your hobbies and hone your skills? Or would you spend your time doing volunteer work and finding meaningful ways to spend your time? We are Lauren and Brandon from Fire Abroad by 40, and today we're going to discuss the FIRE movement, or Financial Independence Retire Early.
So, what is FIRE? FIRE is an acronym. It stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. And there's two main parts. There's the financial independence, which is having enough money to where your investments cover your lifestyle. And then there's the retire early part of it, which is optional. It's, I think, the less important part, but it's retiring early and, sometimes 10, 20, 30 years early um, than your peers.
So, why do some people choose to fire? It's really the freedom from that 9 to 5 stress. A lot of people go to a job that they just don't enjoy, or the job is very stressful and hard on their health. And so, by retiring early, they reduce that stress level and they can enjoy better health for a longer period of time. It gives them more time for their family. That's really one of the reasons we chose to do it, was we have a 3-year-old daughter and we just wanted to be as active and present of parents as possible. More time for creativity. Brandon likes to play the guitar. I'm still looking for my new hobby. And of course, more time to travel. Once we have our permanent residency, we'll be able to travel abroad much more easily and spend more time abroad. And then early retirement, it doesn't mean that you do nothing. It's just about finding a new freedom. It could even be that you recreationally work because you still get so much meaning out of your work. But it is about owning your own time and having the assets that you can buy your time back.
So, what is the core math behind FIRE? It's pretty simple. There's this rule. It's kind of a back of the napkin math. It's the 4% rule. It's from a Trinity study, something that's known as the Trinity study by Bill Bingen, and it's that once you have once your spend is 4% of your let's
Hmm?
can we cut the
Yeah.
let me so what is some of the core math behind financial independence? One bit of the math is the 4% rule. It's a rule that was developed during the Trinity study by Bill Bingen. It's when your annual expenses equal 4% of your portfolio. One simple way to calculate it is you take your annual expenses and you multiply them by 25. So, for example, if you needed $40,000 to live off of, you multiply that by 25, um, and you need a total of 1 million in order to provide you 40,000 annually. Um,
So there are a lot of different types of fire that people explore or stay on the course of. One example is lean fire. And this is when you have very low expenses and minimum lifestyle, and you build a small portfolio and then retire on still a low level of expenses. There's barista fire, and this is where people essentially build up a large portfolio that maybe won't subsist them entirely, but then they take on some kind of part time work to supplement the income, and they'll live off of that part-time income while their portfolio compounds and builds to where they need it to be to fully support themselves. There's fat fire, and this is where people make a lot of money, maybe high-end tech engineers, that kind of realm. Doctors may be able to do this, where you have a very high six-figure salary or more, and you can spend more but still save at a really high rate. And that also allows you to have a higher, more comfortable lifestyle when you do retire early. And then finally is Coast Fire, and these people might save aggressively early on, build a substantial portfolio, and then take their foot off the gas on the savings rate, continue to work while their portfolio compounds.
How to start your fire journey. So you need to do a few different things. You need to find out how much you spend. A lot of people don't know this, so you need to track your expenses, get a budget. Um, I believe that once you've done that and you've got a good ballpark of where you're at, then you don't have to do this forever. But it's good and important to figure out where you're at. You need to increase your savings rate. A lot of people in the fire movement, they save upwards of 50% or more of of their money. And so the higher you get that, the lower your expenses are because you're not spending as much, and the faster you can get to being financially independent. Um, you need to build an emergency fund. Not having an emergency fund is an emergency because things happen. So it's important to have 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside in a bank account or something that's very it's not volatile in order to have that fund available. Um, you need to invest. You can't get to financial independence by saving only. You have to invest your money, and you need to invest in things like index funds, which are just a basket of funds, very low expenses, very cheap, very diversified. Um, and you need to be putting these index funds in your retirement accounts so that you get the most beneficial um, tax uh, uh,
Tax
taxes
deferment.
that you can.
Yeah.
Um, and then once you start seeing your accounts go up, you need to not go and spend that money. You need to stay away from lifestyle inflation, of where um, you know you're it becomes tempting once you start seeing some of these numbers come out. Oh, it'd be really nice to have a truck because a new truck or a new boat or what have you. So just trying to avoid lifestyle inflation.
So next I want to talk about some of the common myths and misconceptions that are around the fire movement. The first is that fire is only for really wealthy people or folks with, I'm sorry, I'll say rich people, folks with high incomes. We'll talk about the difference between rich and wealth at some other point in our videos, but rich people who earn a lot of money. Brandon and I were librarians. We were government employees, either federal or local, or for universities. We never made a lot of money. Neither of us ever reached six figures on our own. And I did a calculation. The highest combined income we ever hit was 130. And then after we had our daughter, I stepped back. So it dropped down even lower than that. So you can do this on a typical professional salary. You can do this as a public employee. You do not have to be making lots and lots of money. Um, the other idea is that you have to live extremely cheap. That's not true either. Brandon and I have traveled before we hit this fire point. We have always enjoyed things like eating out, buying ourselves clothes when we need them. But we really adhere to Ramit Sethi's idea of spending on what makes you happy. So we really like to eat out and we really enjoy travel, and then cutting everything else to minimum of what we need. So it's really about what do I need, what makes me happy, and what is the best return on my money. And then there's also this idea that early retirement is boring if you leave the workforce and no one else has left the workforce at your age. Your friends are still working, you don't have anything to do. That is not true. We've made a lot of friends who are in some place on their own fire journey who are close in age with us, have children close to our child's age. So we have a very social life in that aspect. We love to socialize with some of the older expats here in Ecuador who are traditional retirement age as well. and we find lots of ways and lots of hobbies to spend our time on.
So there are some challenges for the fire path. One, you have to have discipline. You have to get up your savings rate to a high amount to do this to retire early. And you need a long-term commitment to continue to investing and riding out the market volatility of the market. The market can be very volatile, and it can be scary seeing, a percentage of your wealth being cut, sometimes up to words of 40 or 50%. So being able to kind of strap yourself down to the mast and ride up the market volatility is something that you just have to be able to do. There's a lot of social pressure and expectations to maybe spend your money in a way that does not make you the most happiest. So you have to be able to kind of live your life on your own terms. Um, and then there's balancing frugality with quality of life. You don't want to be a miser and not spend anything and not get any enjoyment. And you only have one life, so it's important to make the most of it. And yeah.
Okay. Next, we will talk about what fire looks like in real life. So we have some friends here in Cuenca who, for the last several years, they really buckled down and saved a lot of money, and they're on track to fire by the age of 35. But they did things like live in an RV, share a car between two partners. It does take some discipline, but by 35, they'll be financially independent and free to spend more time with their children, travel Latin America more, and just enjoy their different hobbies. Um, Other people I know have been able to drop down to part time work because their portfolio is large enough, it can just continue to grow. So they're able to spend more time doing the things they love because they're only working 20 hours a week to support themselves and their family. Everyone has a different fire path. It looks a little different for everyone else. And I wouldn't say it's one size fits all. Maybe you want a more luxurious retirement. You're going to have to get more to a fat fire number and have a larger portfolio. We're very happy with very little. And then we came to Ecuador to reduce our expenses. So we were able to retire on a relatively small retirement portfolio at this time. Um, but nothing has to be forever either. You can take mini retirements and try it out, and you can always go back to work or reskill and pick up something else. So I think it's really important to decide what fire is going to look like for you and reassess and adjust as you go.
Yeah. So, what are some actionable steps that you can take right now? I think one of the most important things that you can do is figure out where exactly you are, and one way you can do that is with what's called a net worth statement. And what you do is you take your assets, so those are the things that you own, and you subtract your liabilities, the things that you owe, the debt, any sort of loans that you have or mortgages out on those assets. Um, and what that'll do is you can go back and use that 4% number to see, okay, um, I have $1 million. I need 40,000, so that's 4% of that, and that's the way that works.
Yeah, I think taking a net worth statement is really important because you may be closer than you ever realized. Um, also keep in mind that your assets will continue to grow. It's not just the savings, it's the growth of those assets. So the net worth statement is a great place to start and, just get a feel for how far off you are from your fire number. What's your fire style? Are you coast fire? Are you a big earner in your fat fire? Think about what you want your retirement to look like as well as you make those choices. And we'd love to have you comment on our content. Go ahead and like our video and subscribe to our channel. And next time, we'll be talking about how we made our decision to fire and move to Ecuador. Thanks.